Hi everyone, my name is Helmond and I'm an assistant professor of new media and digital culture at the University of Amsterdam. So today I want to talk about some of the methods and tools for conducting web histories that we've developed at the Digital Methods Initiative at the University of Amsterdam. Next, I will also reflect on some ideas and best practices for developing and maintaining tools. And finally, I want to raise some ideas for working in the future. So the Digital Method Initiative was initiated in 2007 with the aim of developing new methods and tools for social, cultural, and medium research in the context of internet studies. And we have had many amazing developers with us over the past couple of years. And since its beginning, we've also been developing methods and tools for doing web history, often using the Internet Archive Wayback Machine. So digital methods could be described as the deployment of online tools and data for the purposes of social and medium research. So on the one hand, we use, for example, social media data to study social issues such as climate change, but also to study social media themselves. So I've been primarily concerned with medium history and also how the medium has evolved. So some examples I've done over the past couple of years are conducting historical hyperlink analysis and mapping historical tracking networks, as well as examining the evolution of medium-specific objects and software such as the hyperlink, like buttons, platforms, and APIs. And recently I've also been using web archiving data to study the history of web industries, for example, the digital marketing and social media advertising industries. So in this sense, web history as medium history focuses less on content and its users and usage, but more on the material aspects of the web, their digitally native objects, underlying software and infrastructure. So it could be seen as a move from the front-end interface of the web to the back-end, for example, by diving underneath its surface into the HTML codes. And in the context of WorkNet, it would be interesting to do a national comparison of these elements. Think about different linking patterns, different presence of social buttons on national news websites, for example. So in this project with my colleague Esther Weltevrede, we used old lists of Dutch blogs and then looked them up in the Internet Archive and then retrieved all the hyperlinks mentioned on these blogs to use them to reconstruct the historical network of the Dutch blogosphere over time using web archive data. And in addition, we also inquired into how the Dutch blogosphere was powered on the back end. What kind of tools and services were they using? So we looked into the source code of these archived blogs to extract what kind of blogging software they were using. And here we found that in the beginning, there was a very active development scene and use scene of Dutch software, so particular national software, if you will, which was later then replaced by large blogging platforms such as WordPress. So this is an example of doing research into a national domain, or in this case, a national blogosphere, to understand its underlying structure. So building on that approach, I looked into how tracking evolved on the New York Times. So I used the New York Times as an example to further develop this method of historical source code analysis, to examine the commercial backend of the web by tracing historical tracking networks. So in this case, I went into web archives and looked into web archive pages to look into the source code for the presence of trackers. So in a related project, we explored the question, do national webs have different tracking ecologies? Where we examined the presence of trackers in 44 different countries. And while we found the dominance of large companies such as Google, we also found very country-specific trackers, especially in Russia and China. And in this context, it would be interesting to do this kind of research combined with the previous one into the evolution of national tracking on the web. And I know there's expertise in the room. So next, I'll reflect on some ideas and best practices for developing and maintaining tools from my perspective as a researcher at the Digital Methods Initiative. So the typical workflow in our group is there's a research question, then there's a lot of manual data collection and processing, and then the formalization of this process into a research protocol, where in a final step, the method gets built into a tool. So the initial steps are a lot of trying, a lot of manual collecting of data. So it's a labor-intensive iterative process. And in some cases, these steps then later get coded into a tool, automating many of these steps. And in this sense, digital methods can be seen as programmed methods, as described by Bora and Reader. So we have many tools that are built on top of platforms and services, including the Internet Archive, where methods get built into tools which evolve with the medium, which also means that tools that are built, for example, on top of Facebook and Twitter require more adjustments than our tools that have been built on top of the Internet Archive, for example, as it does not change that much. So almost all of our tools are available for everyone to use. And this is also one of our main aims, to make them simple and easy to use and to provide access to others. So here are two of our tools that have been built on top of the Internet Archive Wayback Machine. So this one enables you to get all the URLs or all the capture for a particular URL or a set of URLs. So I know that the Internet Archive has a CDX and API for that, but it's not easy to use for everyone. And I'm quite sure not everyone knows it exists. So in this case, if I want to study the technical evolution of Facebook by looking at its developer pages, this tool enables me to get all the links that have been archived to all the 28,000 snapshots. But obviously that might be too much, as in my case, it might make more sense to get one snapshot per month to look at this evolution. So this tool does that too. It enables you to create a sample of the data by selecting one snapshot per day, one every 10 days, or one every month. So there's a nice sampling built into this tool. Another example is the appropriation of an existing tool. So we have a tool for detecting trackers in websites, and we then made it to work also with Internet Archive Wayback URLs, which now enables us to do historical tracking analysis. So what to consider when developing tools? Of course, the purpose and audience of the tools and the use case scenario of the tools. Very often it starts from a single researcher question, and then how can it be made into a more multi-purpose tool? And then the technical environment of the tools, where a web interface makes it much easier to use for everyone and often much simpler. And the maintenance of tools. Of course, tools and their maintenance are not always central. And I think this is something to consider also when applying for a research grant. Consider including a scientific programmer and also the maintenance of the tools after the project has ended. So what have I learned from 10 years of DMI? So one thing is the idea of building tools on top of other websites. Is a very fruitful one to repurpose the existing data that is lying underneath. For example, to build custom tools on top of web archives, or to adjust existing tools to work with web archiving data, even though that's not always easy. And especially low barriers. Our tools have a very easy to use web interface, which is super important and should not be underestimated. Many of the tools we have at our disposal require programming skills or other technical skills. And our tools, I think, have a very nice way of providing an easy to use interface, and also therefore enables us to disseminate this as a research practice. Tools can also be changed. We can use one tool after another for every single small step. And of course, the aim to acquire funding for tool maintenance. So to conclude, I want to offer the possibility of creating a meta tool repository within the context of WorkNet. So here at DMI, we've collected all our tools on a website, which are open to use, and we provide instructions for their use. And also the IIPC has a nice repository for web archiving tools. And I think this could be an inspiration to create a collaborative page for tools, methods, and possibly worksheets for studying transnational web domains and events. So a meta tool repository could have existing tools listed, tools that will be developed within the context of particular projects, then list them on a page with a short explanation. And second, protocols and methods for doing such research, how to do transnational web domains and events research. And this could be further formalized in worksheets for researchers and students. We do this, for example, at the University of Amsterdam, where we create worksheets how to do particular web historical projects. And they can just read through it, follow it step by step, and then fill it in with their own research objectives. So the documentation of our research protocols step by step also enables us to disseminate how to do such transnational web domain and event research. So thank you all for listening. Looking forward to the rest of the talks, and talk to you later. Bye.